Okay, today's our topic is how to implement a test case and then how to write it and then how to execute and track it. So for any test case development process, first we need to analyze and then design then implement. So analyzing inputs and identification test conditions is the first point. So what we have inputs and how to identify that, where we need to give that inputs and all, we need to first analyze, then design. Design is nothing but detailing the test conditions into specific test cases.
Sorry,
Anusha,
I can't
I
see
can't see
any.
your screen.
Yeah, Anu, we are not able to see your screen, Anu.
Let me stop sharing.
It's okay, Anu. Then if you want, I can take the class, Anu. If you want me to take? Are you facing any challenges with the mission?
No, no. I'm
Are you good, Anu? Okay. Yeah, we are
Yes.
able to see now. Yeah.
So three phases: test analysis, design, and implementation are the steps for any test case development. So as we know, the first thing is requirement analysis. In the requirement analysis itself, we will what to say, get to know what kind of testing we will perform on that, functional, non-functional, and if it is functional, what inputs we need, what URLs we need. So all these prerequisite information we will try to gather at the requirement analysis phase itself, right? So when it comes to test case execution, the first thing is analysis, right? So in the analysis, for example, here something written. Test scenario means any functionality that can be tested. It is also called test condition or test possibility. Each functional requirement is likely to have one or more test cases, test scenarios. We could use a test management tool like HP, like whichever it is. Even we can use Jira also. So like that, otherwise we can also track our test scenarios in an Excel sheet. That I will tell you how to track them. So in a scenario, usually three things are mandatory here. First thing is test scenario ID. So normally, whenever we join somewhere as a student or something, we will have some ID, right? Why do we need some ID? Though we have a name. Anyone? Why we require an ID?
ID is unique. I mean, we
And,
have same names.
and any other points?
Easy to recognize.
Huh. So to track also we can say, right? For example, we have 100 members. We will give some random ID. How we will understand how many people we have? We can't every time count, right? 100 people. So ID is something which can track a number of students. At the same time, we can uniquely identify each student irrespective of their repeated names. So likewise, whenever we are writing a test case, the ID should followed by the requirement analysis. So in the requirement analysis, even new people saw the T1, technical 1, technical 2, functionality test 1, functionality 2, F1, F2, like that, right? So for example, for Varsha, I have assigned functionality 1 to write a test case. So how she can write her test case, how she can give ID means for F1 she's writing. So for which requirement document, for example, requirement document R1 we name it as. So R1.0 underscore F1 underscore the number of test cases which she is writing. For example, if she written 10 test cases, so the first test cases she will give 001, 002, 003, like that. Why we are giving 001? Any idea?
Because there may be hundreds of those scenarios.
Yes. So 001 is the normal way of starting a number, giving a number to it, any test cases. For that functionality, she might not go beyond 100, right? So for that reason, 001, 100, 200, 300, up to 99 we can give. So as per the functionality, we need to start. If you think that that particular functionality may require more than 1,000 of test cases, usually it won't happen. If it is happening, in that case, we can start with 0001 like that. Let me open my notepad. So, for example, if it is the functionality, if it's the requirement 1, we give R1. For the functionality, for 1 we are writing F1, 001 should be our first ID for any test case which we are starting. The second test case will be R1 underscore F1 underscore 002. This is how
Anusha, we
it will.
can't see that screen.
Mhm.
We can't see the notepad.
Got it. So this is how we need to write we need to generate a test ID. If you are using some tool, Jira tool or something, it will automatically generate an ID for you. You no need to bother about it. But when you're tracking in an Excel sheet, this is mandatory. So let us come back to the PPT. So yeah, then reference of the requirement. Here they are giving, right, from where we are actually pointing this test scenario. Here, one difference actually, there is a difference between test scenario and test case. Test scenario is nothing but, for example, the big functionality. For example, we say that test on username and password, correct username and password for any login page. So for any login page, okay, that's okay. We will have a good validation that we will give proper username and proper password, and it will let us in into that welcome page. But as a testers, what we can do, we can't only give a proper username and proper ID and then check, okay, it is logging in or not. Then we will give certification. We have to play with it, like giving wrong username, wrong password, wrong username, correct password, wrong password, correct username. So likewise, permutation combinations, we have to think what could be the scenario which can fail that welcome page. Likewise, we have to think and then come up with the test cases. But the test scenario is login into home page. So you understood the difference between test scenario and then test case. So test case is nothing but a big scenario. The functionality, main functionality, logging into home page is the test scenario for me. In that, test case 1 is correct username and correct password is one test case. Test case 2 is wrong username and correct password. Like all the to which extent you can go as per the time, you can try all the scenarios and then certify that particular welcome page. Whichever test scenario assigned to you as a tester, you have to go with all the permutations and combinations which are nothing but called test cases. Then certify that welcome page whether it is working or not. Test case 3 is correct username and wrong password. Test case 4 is both are wrong. As an inputs, I'm saying these are the inputs. So likewise, we need to come up with some of the test cases in some Excel and then start writing them. Another attribute here is test case description. What we are going to achieve with that particular test case. Here, for example, they are giving like validate if the user can successfully log in with successful user account, which is nothing but the return we have written right here, logging into the home page test scenario. So validating if the user can successfully log in with successful user account. This is one scenario. The second scenario is validate if user can exit from login screen by clicking cancel, exit from login screen by clicking cancel button or cross mark on the top of the login screen. This is another scenario. Likewise, we have to segregate scenarios and test cases, then start writing them. If you here in this PPT, is this PPT is visible for you? Or should I,
It's
Yes,
okay.
yes, it is
It's okay.
visible.
it is fine, right? Okay. So if we're going further, this is mind map they are giving. Let me, I'll do one thing. Now it would be better, I guess, viewers.
No, you can run the slideshow, Anu. Then it will come in a big picture. The right side there is a slideshow option. Yeah,
Okay, then this is
yeah, you are
mind
good
map
now.
tool. Yeah. So normally, how we need to think, the way how I have explained right in the notepad, the same way for any functionality, how we should think. This is something mind map they are giving us a snippet. Let's see what is there inside. So to log in user, what are the things which they are thinking before? Hyperlink, note attached, preconditions, positive scenario, negative scenario, end of scenario, destination of hyperlink, make a reference to a different node, preferred node. So it's not that what we are testing, like before to write some test case to log in user as a third person or a user or a tester, how we should think of from the test perspective side. First thing is what hyperlink we are clicking, if it is an hyperlink or something. If we are clicking that hyperlink, where it should lead us to, and what should be the condition to click on the hyperlink. Do I need to have some login credentials, or do I need to have some access to that URL if I click on? It's not that simply like Amazon or Flipkart in any project you can click and access that URL. When it comes to company protocol, to access any URL inside whatever the system they provide, definitely need access. So those preconditions and all we have to we have to first go through as a preconditions, and then what the other thing is, in the preconditions application is installed and configured in the system. For example, if any for example to test any other functionality, if we needed any desktop application prior to run the test case, definitely we require to install that application. Or if it is having any user ID or password in the defined system, those details we require. Or if any authorization is required, same thing, whatever I have explained, authorization, credentials, and the clear picture of that system, and then the particular systems which are we are using should be installed or configured in our systems. These are the preconditions which we can think of before to run or create a test case. So when it comes to scenario, for example, user launches the application. For example, if the application is launched, like first thing is what we need to do for any here. For example, they're giving some scenario which can be related to some application. So first thing is the user will launch the application. If application is not running, system displays the. Okay,
Guys,
you
mind
guys see
map
my
is
screen, right?
yeah, no. So mind map is basically, so the idea, like suppose if you want to prepare something today, so what you will do? So you will think, right? Okay, what I can do. So suppose I'm going to prepare something, what I will think? Whether I have a, suppose I want to cook some dish, what I will think? My mind map will, okay, by this time I need to be everything to be ready. Okay, I need a gas, I need a all the ingredients. Okay, so I need to put first what I need to put. So you will imagine, right? So the imagination, whatever you are going to do for particular cases. Okay, suppose while cooking, suppose the gas is going to off. So what is the next plan scenario? So you need to think all the positive, negative scenarios. Also, suppose in between you're cooking, so you got some work. What will you do? What is your next mind map? Okay. So mind map is basically you need to understand what are the possibilities. Okay. So what kind of things can happen in that? Like suppose login user. So hyperlink. There is a link where we need to provide. Okay. So you need to be very what is the precondition for login user? Okay. What is the precondition? So user has to create a username password. It should be existed. Then only user can able to log into the system. So all these things you need to be very clear with the mind. So mind map will talk. You need to imagination each and every piece. So in the project also, you need to think all the perspective. So that is called mind map. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Huh. So, so in the mind map itself, we will think, right? If it is you, we will first priorly understand if it is correct username and correct password. What will I get an input? What will I get the output as? Like what result I will be able to see? At least we will think right before we execute. So those things are called browse for the folder. Okay. Oh, sorry. It's recorded the session.
Yeah. Suma, are you recording this session, Suma?
Yes, Satya, I record.
Yeah. Anu,
Recording.
recording is going on.
No, the previous recording I just clicked on cancel where it is.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah.
So this is how we will do mind. Okay. Then so here they are saying like issue log. Okay, issue log. Issue log for clarifications. Issue or clarification log is a document which is maintained and updated on a day-to-day basis. It is sent to the customer to get clarifications if required. So normally we were discussing in the requirement analysis time, right? If we are having any differences or misunderstandings, we will try to rectify them. We will ask them to for clarification like that. For that, they name it as like we can call it as issue log or clarification log. For that clarification log, whenever, for example, you were thinking that some username which they are providing shouldn't be the username which should be able to log in, but when you actually doing it, it accepted. So you got a doubt whether it should or should not. So you got a doubt in the requirement whether it should happen or should not happen. At that time, you can create a issue or clarification log to the appropriate business analyst and then get your clarification done in a certain format. First thing is reference from which document you are referring that point, and then the description which you would like to ask and how it is impacting, and then the status whether it is open, closed, or pending or deferred, and the which date you have raised, and once the issue log is completed, when you are closing the defect. Got it? I mean, still, are you guys with me?
Yes.
So this is how in a pictorial formation issue clarification log is like this. So the serial number, raised date, reference, and then issue clarification description, issue or clarification what they have provided, and then the severity, status raised by Satya. This is defect something or issue log you mean to say?
No, this is more like a log clarification. So for
Requirement
log,
clarification only, right?
yeah, requirement side.
Okay. So requirements, if you have any doubts while executing, if you're stuck anywhere without understanding, you can't proceed and you should not also proceed until unless you get the clarification. So if you get any doubts, which username you need to provide, which password you need to provide, you definitely need to create a log. See, so on so credentials I got, I've gone through and I've executed this test case, but the expected input out results is not coming as we are expected. So is there anything changes happened the username or password? What we need to perform here? Like that, you will raise a clear clarification log
Yeah.
with some
So yeah,
template, specified template.
yeah. Let me give an example, Anu.
Sorry.
Here, let me give an example. See, if you see some of the login pages, right? Either you can log in with username password or you can integrate with any API. Like you can log in with your Gmail, log in with Facebook or anything. Okay. So now my scenario is the user can log in into the three factors. But as per the development, I see only one login. So now I need to raise a question that, okay, as per the requirement, the user can log in with Gmail and Facebook as well. But in the current application, as I see, the only login can happen through username and password. There is no Gmail and password. Facebook. Okay. So in that case, I need to raise a clarification issue log. Okay. See, as per the requirement, you're talking about Gmail and Facebook login. But now I don't see these options. So could you please clarify? Okay. So if you are not going to clarify, if some point of time, if you say QA is pass, okay, then they will ask you why these two options are not displaying, why you are not tested. So, but in the requirement, it is there, but in the build side, it is not available. Okay. So suppose you went to some restaurant, you ordered something, but they bought something else. But how do you know whatever you ordered? So that's why they will write down your order in the paper, right? Or else in the tablet, so that they won't miss anything. In case if they miss it, we can go and get it. Okay, whatever I ordered. The same way we need to maintain this log template. So the whatever I have given example, so that this requirement will go to the business team.
This is how the
Hey,
template is like. Whenever we
yeah.
raise an issue or clear a clarification log, in general, normally people use some tools. So mostly nowadays, no one is following an Excel, but it is always a good practice to have something in an Excel sheet for your own reference. Uh, the next thing is the test conditions, like test analysis. The second step. So test analysis is like test conditions are elaborating in the test design specification document comprises of features to be tested. First thing is features to be tested. Test design in the test design specification document. The first point is features to be tested. What features we are going to test? The set of test objectives covered by the test design specification. It is the overall purpose of this document to group related test items together. For example, username, password test, like welcome page login test means all the test cases like how we have written previously in the notepad, the same way we'll group them into an Excel sheet. And again, second page, there you are trying to verify some products adding. So that particular group of test cases, you will make it as a group and then create some proper one link like that. So for every test group of test cases, one proper link should be there, and then above link some like for example, we have a requirement document that is first route for us. So from the route we will create test scenarios. That is second route. Again from test scenarios, each test design, if you consider as a group, all the test cases comes under the test scenario will all form as a group under that particular test design. So like that tree will form. So like reference to the original documentation where the test objective was obtained. Like what I explained from the root and then test scenario, from the test scenario, again from the test case. This is the root. The third point is approaching refinements. The necessary level of detail and refinement based on the approach selection of specific test techniques, reasons for technique sections, methods for results analysis, relationships of the test items or features to the levels of testing. Approaching is nothing but we will have certain level of test cases. One is username and password. If you consider the same example, username and password, if you give directly correct username and correct password for the first attempt itself, it will make you log into welcome page. At the same in that case, you will be not to test the second test case, which is invalid password and invalid username. Again, you will have to come back to the log out and then come back to the login page, right? In that case, what you can think of, if you can finish your first all the negative validations, the successful validations, in the end, you can keep it in a proper way, right? So you will finish your in that time. In that case, you will save some time as well. You no need to repeatedly log out and then try to log in with invalid credentials. So that is where we have to think prior to execute set of group of test cases, like which test case should be executed first and the second which test case should be executed next. The other point is test identification. So test identifications is like identification of each test case with a short description of this case. We can't give test description as I'm giving the invalid username so on so, invalid password so on so, not like that. That test description uh, should be like a small, and it should also effective, which can be understandable, and based on the description itself we should be able to understand what we are going to test inside the test case. So invalid password, invalid username, you can say validate user be able to log in with invalid username and invalid password. You no need to describe further like, okay, we are giving username as this, use password as this. And again, for example, if you are not able to understand this point, I will give you some other example. For example, if they're giving some link which needs to be clicked and then you should navigate to somewhere else, you no need to mention the description as we are clicking on HRF link and then we should be able to log into the welcome page where we will see so on so details. No, we just give a test description like validate the user is able to log into the so on so HRF link, the name of the link, welcome link or product link, something like that. So it should be small and then should be effective to understand what is going to be tested inside that. um, Feature pass or fail criteria. Describe the criteria of assessing the feature or set of features when whether the test was successful or not. We have to represent the test a column which says test case pass or fail. It's always important as you create a test case to update after you executed that so and so test case is passed or failed. Okay, so the status is also one of the feature. So here, if you see whatever we have just described in a theoretical manner, here you can see as an example. So we gave some name to the test case, successful user login, and given ID, and then test case description. We gave launch the test steps we can mention test. Test case name is nothing but the description, and test case steps are launch the test case application and provide username and then password, then click on login. That will comes under the steps what we are performing inside the test case. And test case name which is also called description is some we can mark it as a small description, successful user login. So through that we can be able to simply able to understand uh, what we are going to test in the test cases. By seeing that name itself, we can be able to understand what is there inside. And then resources, which resource is working on this particular test case. It's not as we discussed about the resource management when we have so certain number of users, so certain number of resources. If we have 100 of test cases, we will segregate within among us, right? If we have 3, if we have 4, like that. So we have to represent, identify who is point of contact for this results of particular test case. So preconditions, what conditions we need to execute that conditions, like which we already discussed, URL, username, password details, and all, like which system we require to execute that. And post conditions, what post conditions are nothing but the post results of that particular test case. After you entered proper username and proper password, what you're expecting and what you got. So what you got is what we are discussing here. What we got, user is authenticated and provided access to the application. When we provide username and password, the user was able to log in successfully. That is what the post condition. Post condition is not also, we can mark it as like post results of that executed test case. So yeah, this all we have already covered. Unique number we need to give, items, output specification, environments needed, which operating system, which compiler, which tool, all these are the we have already covered. Here one example they give, like login, cash deposit, checking balance. These are all like repeating only. Okay, let me show this template now. Okay, can you see my screen? The Excel?
Yes.
Are you guys with me? Okay. I know it's like theoretical today more of, so have patience. Okay, so whatever we have discussed, right, those points, this is how we will maintain our test case in our local. If we are not using any tool to track test cases or something, we definitely have to follow this kind of template. Just a minute. Okay. So this is the prerequisite. What they have written for login page, access to Chrome browser. We should be able to launch Chrome browser and should be successfully able to access the URLs in the Chrome browser. For that, you definitely need to sit with some configure people that in that environment where we are working, the Chrome should be accessible. And then whatever URLs we access, those should not have any DNS firewall settings to stop us, like all the DNS, all the proxy, we should make sure that it will be allowing us to Chrome browser launch in that particular environment. And test data prior only we should come up with, right? Since we are validating correct username and correct password, we should provide correct username and correct password as a test data. Test scenario is what? Verifying or entering a valid user ID and password, the customer can log in. So first, step by step, what we are executing, everything needs to be updated in the test case. First, navigate to so and so URL and enter user ID and password. When you are navigating to URL, what should happen? What is the expected result? Site should open. What is the actual result? Uh, as expected, it should come. Like usually you can describe like site, we are able to open the site, or some write like as expected. If same result we are getting as an expected, but this is not a good practice of writing as expected. Usually you need to describe what you are seeing as a result when you are opening the URL. So site should open and site is opened. Like that you can write. So if it is site is opened, you will mark it as a pass, that particular step. If its site is not opened, if you will mark it as a fail, that particular step. In any of these three test cases fail, three steps fails, we can mark that whole test case as a fail only. If all three steps are passed, then only we can mark it as a pass. That is how we will enter all the details in any test case. This is another test case which you can fill based on the functionality. Like you follow this format only for the test cases. In another way, you can also use here. So this is the normal format, but you can keep like before step, like how we have shown the PPT. After step, test case name we have, and after that they create a date, and then like that also you can like follow in that document we have shown, right? But they don't follow like test case description and all. Here step details step we have, right? After step you can add a column like test case name, and then step details, expected, actual, pass or fail, and then add prerequisites before the after the test name, before step details, you can add these prerequisites, or you can directly follow this format as well. There is nothing wrong. So now how I can track all these test cases in a normal format. So this is how we will write test cases, and tracking them, we will create a test Excel, where we will all log in, like all the test scenarios will be in the second column, all the test cases numbers will be in first column. Like, let me open a new Excel and show you. So this is case name, test case number, test case name, status. So the first test case is a successful login, successful login, right? So test case 1001 is for successful login, which is pass or fail. If you have 100 test cases, all the test cases needs to be logged in like this, and then track them. Which test cases passed, which test cases failed. Because if you will write 100 Excels like that, which I shown before, and every time you can't check, you can't open each and every PPT, each and every Excel and see whether the test cases pass or fail, right? So you will have to track them in a certain format where you can directly save your time and then get to know what the status of that particular test case. Usually the test leads will assign like this. They will have some tracking sheet, and then they will provide the test description itself, and then assign the assignee, and then get to know the status from the assignee in the end of the day. This is how they track the test cases in an Excel format. If you have a tool, it will make us easy. We can track very easily. That I'll show you. Like on Thursday, I think we can create Zeta, and at that time, you will definitely get some clear picture. You don't need to go through all these kind of uh, more taking time methods. Easily you can write test case over there itself and then execute. We will see about that. Now let's come back to the PPT. Okay, test design techniques are ways of implementing test efficiently. In that we have two types, static, dynamic. Dynamics are subdivided into specification based black box, and then structures based, and then experience based. So techniques again, functional, non-functional. These are again theoretical topics. So dynamic, structure based, specification based. In structure based, we have statements, decisions, conditions, multiple conditions. Dynamic is like more of experience based. If it is a experience based, error guessing or exploratory testing. Specification based means equivalence partitioning, boundary value, decision table, state transition, user case testing. So dynamic, structure based will be there, specifications will be there. This is just what to say, theoretical part. These test by white box, black box, all we have already gone through. They're clearly explaining boundary. Okay, this is something we are seeing for the first time. Boundary values of testing. If any functionality which comes under this boundary value analysis, we need to go in this certain way. Like it's based on testing at the boundaries between partitions, Note that we have, for example, some testing, like for example, if it comes to banking transactions, they give some conditions, right? From this amount to this amount, they will not charge any transaction charges. But from this amount to this amount, they will charge some transaction amount, something like that if we have requirement. So until 5,000, the bank will not charge any amount. For example, if I'm transferring some Indian currency to dollars currency, like US currency, like INR to dollars, if I'm trying to convert, there are some specifications, right? From this amount to this amount, this much charge, and from this amount to this amount, this much charge. So in the requirement, they will give, for example, let's say that from up to 50,000, they are charging around $5. Okay,
Yeah, maybe you
usually they
can go
charge.
with the tax slab, Anu. Like whoever less than 5 lakhs, the tax is 5%.
Hmm.
Okay, for 10,000, 10 lakhs package, the tax is
That
10%.
also, yeah. Up to 25, we do not have tax, 2,50,000. And then after 2,50,000 to 5 lakhs, we will have around 5%. And 5 to 7.5, 10%, if you say. And 7.5 to 10, 15%. And 10 to 2. So above 50, we have 30%, right?
Wait a minute. Meeting will end in 10 minutes. Again rejoin.
Same link, right, Asuma?
Same link.
Okay. So if we are considering these are the boundaries, like 2,50,000 is first boundary, minimum boundary, and 5 lakhs is maximum boundary. So according to this, we need to test if the guy is having 249999, whether he is able to charge or not. Like out of the boundary values also, sometimes we have to consider when it comes to negative testing. Like positive testing we do, like 2,50,000, 5 lakhs, within that range they have or not. So boundary values are fine, but at the boundaries, from, for example, some people, right, it's blend, it's like common mistake, like every developers mostly does this. Instead of they say like greater than or equal to, they simply say greater than. In that case, when we are trying to give our input as 2,50,000, it will again not taxable income. But as per the requirement, 2,50,000, if they're coming, that is called boundary. That minimum boundary should also be included. First, we need to get clarified that the minimum boundary is included or excluded. Then, if it is included, definitely it should follow the 5% taxable. So
Okay,
the boundary values
Anu,
are very important.
yeah, give me one example, Anu. Just a minute. So why do we need boundary values? Okay, so usually in interview also these people will ask you, can you please explain any one boundary scenario? Okay, so you need to come up with a different example with respect to your banking or whatever example. Suppose how many people are aware that, okay, see, some, if you go some store, they never put $100. They will say 99.99, right? So then that is the so you will get it, but they never say 100. So here, what is the boundary? Okay, so you need to check 0 to, see, for this example, 25 2 lakhs 50,000. So you need to check 2 lakhs 49,999. Okay, till the minus value you need to validate. The system should not accept less than the value. So your testing should be always in the boundary of -1 +1. Okay, and also the -1 value. So 25,000 -1 value, how much it is? Okay, so you need to do all types of testing. So 999 is the offer. Okay, the system is accepting more than that. So then it's a defect. So that is the reason always we need to validate these kind of scenarios, especially in banking or any kind of healthcare. Okay, any financial, any quantity, everywhere wherever we are talking about these boundaries, we have to be. So that's why, what are the techniques you will follow while writing test cases? You should say boundary value analysis. Okay, and also shift left, shift right. Okay, these are the some techniques we have. Okay, make sure that you need to use the technical words while they're asking something about what are the testing techniques you will follow while writing test cases. So make sure that this is very important question, guys. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Anu.
So that is how, like, even if it is 2,50,000, 2,50,000, 2,50,000 point 0,001 also should be considered. So that is that minute difference also should be impacted as per the requirement. That is called, like, sometimes very big mistakes will be done just because of boundary values. Uh, the condition, because when it comes to development, they just simply write greater than or equal, less than or equal, something like that. That small condition impacts very huge functionality. So we have to keenly observe what is the boundary value, whether it is included or excluded. Included in the sense they will update as equal to as well. If it is excluded, they will remove that equal to. So that small is very minute to see, but it is very impacting. It is very big impact. It is having very big impact in the functionality. So we have to keenly observe, and then based on that, what is inside boundary, small value like 0.0001 also we have to consider. Um, Decision table, which is nothing but we were just before I have told you, right? I have shown you one Excel which I was telling, like, we have to track all the test cases in an one at one place to make sure all the test cases are pass or fail in an less time format. So when we can say that this so and so functionality is ready to deploy, when all the test cases, for example, we have written around 10 test cases here, 10 test cases should be in pass state. Then we can mark them as pass to go with. If any one test case fail also, if any one test case blocked also, we can't certify this particular scenario is good to go. So likewise, we have to make sure for all the scenarios. And if all the scenarios are passed and then executed and then passed, then we can make it as that functionality is good and then it is working. So here what they're mentioning, what is decision table for design test design? Identify suitable function or subsystem that reacts that reacts to combination of inputs. Identify the conditions that need to be combined. Put the above conditions in the table, listing all combinations of true or false. There is a method to decide a test design is going good or not. For that, they're giving some points like what is a suitable function or subsystem that reacts to combination of inputs. Whatever the inputs we are giving, like different combinations of inputs, how the system is reacting, whether the functionality is suitable for that testing. So, what conditions needs to be combined? What type of conditions we can combine? And we can't simply just say that, okay, this is right, this is not right, this is true, this is false, like that. We have to keep that in a ruler where we can update those estimations Based on that ruler output, we can consider that is suitable or not. Here's some example they have given. User can enter term of the loan and monthly repayments inputs. If both are entered, system will make compromise between the two of the conflict. Two if they conflict. So here two inputs they are giving. One is term of the loan. For example, if the term of the loan is 15 years, so monthly repayment is some example based on the sum, right, which we are taking. So for example, let's say it is 30,000 per month, monthly repayment. And the term of loan is 10 years. So we entered that details here. Term of loan is 10 years and then monthly repayment is 20,000 or 30,000. We put the into the table. Repayment amount has been entered. Term of loan has been entered. So here we will get a clear picture that what type of combinations we tried here. If you're understanding it difficult with this example, valid username, valid password, invalid username, invalid password, valid username, invalid password, invalid username, valid password. So when we see this page by enter, we can take some decision. We can take some decision that okay, based on the inputs and combinations I have tried, since still the system working, giving as expected results to me, so this particular design is this particular functionality is good to go. That is how I can what to say certify using decision table. So the first rule is like valid, valid, true, true, valid, invalid. This is also true. This is false. False should be false only, right? Like for example, if you are giving invalid password, you will get a false only, right? You will be not able to log in, which means the test case is success, but we are giving false input here. False input, correct input, false input, false input, like that. Correct, true input, true input. So all the permutations and combinations here, they are just giving the logic, what kind of combinations we can give. Both true, one false, one false, one true, both false. So for every test case, we have to keep that in mind that these combinations should be there. We are giving true, true, false, true, true, false, false, false. This is a basic point which we need to make sure before we are testing any test cases. The other thing is like, what is the outcome we got? Yes, 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 yes. So when we are giving false, we should not get anything, right? So that's why they are not giving any points here. Here nothing came. And the rule for false, false, I think they not expected something. Like they didn't get some, here's some example they're giving actually. We will assume it displays error message. This shows the strength of this technique to discover omission and ambiguities in the specifications. So when they're giving false, false, I think they did not get the expected outcome like they should not be able to log in, right? But instead it was not throwing any error like username and password both are invalid, something like that. So that's the reason they have enabled some error message here. Table. This is another example. Okay. Okay, slight change in the example. User should be displayed error message if customer enter both repayment and term, then our table will change as below. Okay, sorry, if in case the error message should also display if the user is true, I mean if they're talking here about some error message which says like if you're entering both correct username and correct password, the message should display like the user and password are correct and then user will be able to log in, something like that. They're expecting that message to be written over there. For example, for just for a change, if the username they did not get that message when they're expecting, in that case also we should expect yes. So there is some error because they did not see any error message over there. So likewise, some error messages if we see as a result, Based on that, we need to write the test cases. Okay, the so and so test case is passed, so and so test case is failed. But this whole functionality I have verified completely. Based on what? Based on these conditions, I have come up with all the combinations which are possible. Then only I'm certifying this so and so design functionality. This is credit card something which this is some technique which we can statement coverage. Okay, let's talk about this exploratory testing. So exploratory testing is finding out about the software, what it does, what it doesn't do, what works and what doesn't work. Like exploring a particular software. Exploratory testing means exploring, it's like finding out about the software first, what the software is doing, actually what it does, what it should not do, how it works, how it should not work. So these kind of explorations will come into this particular testing. So let's go inside. Informal software test that is not based on formal test plans or test cases. Testers may be learning the software as they test it. It can basically ensure that major functionalities is working as expected without fully testing it. Testers are involved in minimum planning and maximum test execution. They can find the missed specifications based on test cases, mostly based on the results of previous tests. This is an approach that is most useful when there are no or poor specifications and when time is severely limited. So it is always a good condition that every test plan phase you will get sufficient time to go inside and understand it like that, right? In that conditions also, this method will be useful for us to make sure that we are testing properly and then we are meeting the test case requirement in that conditions also. So normally internal factors, external factors, we can discuss it about. So decision about choosing a technique are models used, testers' knowledge or experience, likely defects, test objectives, documentation, life cycle module. These all the like internal factors. What can be affected to that particular understanding of that requirement or decision making of that particular test case. Sometimes a test case we will not be able to certify because the requirement phase itself they are saying that they themselves have still need to discuss on something like whether so and so functionality should work as expected or not, as what they're sometimes there are cases that there may be changes in the business requirement as well based on our decision table, because our decision table says that it's not certifiable, but the requirement says that it should be certifiable. That times in that conflict, in that conflicts, one of the factors is like the experience. Like this is one of the factor, like misunderstanding of the requirements or something missed in the requirement or models used. Which model we have used? If we are using some other model, for example, if it is like continuous project, if we are using some like waterfall model or something, which we can't revert back, in that cases this model is not applicable. We have come up with the test results and then we can't certify because we used waterfall model instead of agile methodology or continuous integration model. So based on the models, or for example, I have a full knowledge, I was there in the test planning phase, but I did not upload any of my documents which I've created for the test plan phase, and the next tester came, she doesn't know, she came at the execution stage. So lack of transferring knowledge also affects this decision making of or delay in the decision making of the test results. So there are some internal factors and external factors as well. Regulatory requirements and time and budget. Sometimes they estimate some time and budget and with some certain amount of resources, and suddenly some resources may drop, some senior resources may drop in between. At that time, they may get to understand. They may have to immediately search for another resource, and then once the resource come again, it will take some time for them to pitch into the test whatever the functionality we are testing, right? So they some time will be consumed. What if it was, since it was an urgent requirement, they have to pay more if they need urgent person, right? Like immediate person to join. So these also the sum of external factors for the decision making of. And the next topic is this is about tracking test cases. I think we have already covered this. That's it. This is of tracking. Okay, this is something I can explain you. Let me share my screen. Okay, so test case reviews. How test case reviews happens here, they have clearly mentioned. First thing is, how can I see? For example, I have 4 to 5 resources under me, and they have come up with some around each person 10 test cases they came up. So I have to review the test case. How can I review? First method is I definitely have to go through all of the test cases, each and every, and open what is they have executed, what exactly results they gave. In that case, what happens? My time will be wasted, right? It's like very easy. We should have some easy method to review any test case, like overall test cases like that. So here they have written some points like positive test cases, negative test cases, performance, security testing, regression testing. So I will not go through each and every test case what they have written. I will make sure that these 5 points we met in that particular functionality. Whether the positive test cases are done, negative test cases are done, and how the performance tested, how the security testing happened. Like overall high level, I will make sure that these points are fine today, so I can go ahead. This is how I'll review the test cases. I don't need to go through all the test cases which you have written. I will only go through the main points like whether the positive test cases are passed, negative test cases are tested and passed, and how the performance, how the security, how the regression happened. So all these I will review and then make sure that test case is reviewed. When, because it is a hierarchy in any software testing life cycle, is that whatever the test cases the pairs created, the test leaders should review them. When it says lead, again they should not do the same work what the other testers are done, right? In that case, we will lose some time there. So as a lead, they should review in a certain format that, okay, positive testing is done, negative testing is done. Like that, they will go for review in a high level. And the second point is, can you perform in multiple steps? Self-review, peer review, SQA review. So self-review means she will know, right, as a test lead, she will know the application, what needs to be done. Because whatever the test cases are assigned to certain tester, she or he will take care of that particular functionality. She doesn't know what is happening with other functionalities. But as a test lead, she should have a view of overall application and then make sure that all the applications, whatever the assigned peers are working, are as expected or not. So that kind of self-review and then peer review with peers, whoever she assigned, with them she need to interact and then get to know the results, what happened with functionality today, what happened in a positive reviews, in the negative reviews. So these things also we need to analyze. So SQA review, the peer review document is reviewed by the SQA who act as internal customers. The peer review comments and SQA review comment gets documented in a common repository. The process of self and peer review has to be complemented by a test case review checklist document. So first is self-review. Whoever written the test case, they should review by their own whether the self-review is performed as per the test case or not, and the document is completed or not, and then they will be ready with that self-review document. And the peer review, we will see, for example, whatever test cases you have written, the other person, if they see, they may catch some defects in that, right? So like that, we will cross examine our test cases with other peers And peer review is something like during this, a person with a better domain knowledge is presented with a self-review document of for review process. The comments raised by the peer review gets implemented, and the updated documents goes into one more round of review by the SQA. So there are levels of reviews. One is first is self-review, then the peer will review, who have more knowledge than the person who is working on the execution part. Let's say test lead, which I explained before. And after test lead, SQA will review, who have the business knowledge. I will only have application knowledge, but how that application impacts the real time scenario. That business person will be there, right? That person will review our test cases and will understand, okay, these people are testing the application as per the business outcome. So likewise, types of reviews will happen in any of STLC. This again there. In every stage again, there will be some prevention of the test defects actually. While you're doing self review, you definitely come up with, okay, this is missing, this is not missing, like that you will come into picture, right? When peer is reviewing it, again he will pick up some defects. Okay, this is something which we missed here, this is something we missed here. So in that way, in by using these types of stages of reviewing the test cases, test results, we can mitigate or prevent the defects. Okay, this is something checklist which they come up in the end. For that, some steps are there which are not much required. Okay. Steps followed for the submission of test cases. Upon completion of all the review processes, self, peer, and SQA, the final version of the test case document gets submitted onto the onset coordinates. Onset coordinates will submit the test case and requirement traceability matrix to the customer for approval. Customer review the test case and validate them if they have covered all the requirements and finally sign off. Acceptance criteria for test execution phase. So all these steps we will follow, right? For first we will do our test cases. We'll create test cases, and then we will do self review, peer review, SK review, and finalize the document, test case document to the onset coordinator who knows the business knowledge. Here, onset coordinator is nothing but who have the real time business knowledge. So what they do, they will submit all the test cases, the requirement traceability matrix, everything for the approval from the customer. Again, the business person will have the higher person, right, who is actually the customer, who have the more knowledge than the business person, who is actually working on that. So again, that person will review the test cases. Okay, my system wanted all these. These people are done with these documents. Based on that sign-off document, they will approve or reject. Based on that, acceptance criteria for execution test phases will happen. So far, this is about the test case planning, analysis, and then creating them. So now, if you come back to that project which Satya assigned, there is a second phase called designing, creating test cases, right? So once Zira is created or before that itself, you can start creating test cases based on the functionality written in that test case requirement document. Start writing test cases in the format which I have shown today and track them with that some document like this. First test case, what you have written, what is the test name, and whether it is passed or failed, like that. Satya, do you have anything else to share here?
Anu, we have written in test cases on in Excel. Anu,
Yeah, today we are practicing writing test cases in the format.
written.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Tell me.
Yeah, I have shown some format, right? I'll share in our
Yeah.
group chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
share in our group chat this format of test case template. Based on that, we have shared actually test case requirement document for banking, right? Last week.
Yes.
Chinna, Varsha, everyone have the document, right? We have understood the requirement. So now it's time for you people to do your practice. So take that requirement, do our day 2 scenarios like do test plan, test create, don't execute, but do test creation for all the functionalities. Can anyone share that screen now, which have the requirement document in your screen?
Now you can share.
Who have that requirement document downloaded? Can you go to that manager and customer roles? Okay, so here, how many people are first? Vikas, Mohita, Sushmita, and who else? We have around 7, right? Including Suma, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4, 5, 6, 7.
Few members are absent today, maybe 2 or more.
How? Okay. So Vikas, you're there, right?
Yeah.
I wanted you to write test plan for the functionalities called new customer and edit customer and a manager
Okay.
and delete customer. First three
Okay.
are yours. And a manager. Okay. And if you
Okay.
scroll down, do we have some more? 3, 6, 7 we have, right? Okay. So can you scroll up? Little up, little up. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, got it. So under manager, first 3 will be taken care by Vikas, and the next 3 will be taken care by Chinna. And deposit, withdrawal, and what is next is there on the under manager. Change password will be taken care by Mohini.
Fund
So not
transfer.
change password, fund transfer. Okay. So
Yeah.
Mohini, and then change password, balance inquiry, mini statement will be taken care by Mohita. And the customized statement, login and log out, and the above one customer we have, right? First one. That will be taken care by Sushmita. You guys are writing, right?
Yes.
Or else I'll
Yes.
make it. Okay, I'll send them in the WhatsApp. Okay, I'll send them.
Okay.
I will send you in some time, around 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
So who else we
should
had?
write
Chinna,
in
Mohan.
we should write in
Yeah,
Excel.
Excel format.
Thank you.
Excel format, yes. And you should track your test cases in the format which I have shown, right, in an Excel. Like
Okay.
test case 1, what is the name, and then what is the status of that today. First, you need to plan under new customer how many test cases can be written. Under edit customer, how many test cases can be done. That planning you need to do in an Excel format, which I shown, right? Let me share again. It's not like first you will write test case and then come back and then track. It's like first you need to come up with the probabilities, the combinations, true, true, false, false. You remember, right? So keeping that in your mind, you need to come up with the test cases. For example, test first point, what you have. Can you see my screen?
No, I should stop the sharing and you can share the screen.
Okay, that's okay. So first test case. Okay, no, you keep it. You keep it. You keep it. Where are you? Okay. Okay, you're sharing, right? Okay. So under new customer, how many test cases can come? So take an Excel. First write new customer based on the functionality. Write test cases names, and then based on the test cases name, taking that, go to the test case format, and then enter all your details, expected, actual. That template you need to go. Understood or any confusions here? You can ask. I can repeat. Are we good to write all the test cases based on the assignment today?
Yes.
Okay, first thing is come up with the test cases, then start writing test case in the template which I'm going to share. Good, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, everyone. Complete the assignment today. Make some time and complete the assignment. And try to every day brush up some of automation concepts as well, side by side. Don't stick to like, okay, today this much only I got and this much only I do. Explore yourself and make some time. At least 2 hours in a day you have to segregate apart from the training time. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That's all right. We are stopping. Is Satya is there? No. Okay then. Let's wind up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye bye.